This is episode 250 of Zen and the Art of Real Estate Investing with my guest, Katie Kim. Katie is a real estate developer, investor, and educator with a passion for empowering business owners and aspiring developers to succeed in commercial and mixed-use projects. Katie, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, I'm excited to talk to you because I know you grew up in a real estate household. So what was it like growing up with a family of multi-generational developers?
Well, when you're born and bred into it, the family bonding time is kind of like fix and flip, or I
This
say
sounds so familiar to me.
I like to say like I was a victim of child labor law. My parents don't like that one, but
Yeah.
when everybody is going and having fun, you're sitting there building walls or doing something, lots of open houses. But
Oh, yeah.
the fun part was actually learning how to negotiate at a young age, because I was sitting in the back of council meetings and
Yeah.
stuff like that.
Yeah.
Kind of backfired on my parents a little bit later in life, but
Right. You could do whatever you want when you're 14. You're just too smart and you knew all the tricks. I like it. Yeah, I understand that though, because I did the same. Like my dad's thing was yard sales. So we would go to yard sales and he would make an offer on every house at the yard sale. And so I also saw him negotiating, not just at yard sales over like a 25-cent football, but over the house. And I think it helped me. I became a lawyer after that. And it's like negotiation is a big part though of what you do. And not just, I think, what people think, because you're in the development game and a lot of that negotiation happens way before anything even is hitting ground or anything has happened. Am I right about that?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's one of the workshops I hold is a control versus commit workshop for that exact reason. It's a lot of people are afraid to take that first step, but
Yeah.
if you could control the first step as you start to do the due diligence and stuff like that, it's not as scary. But if you're not in the game, it's hard to understand that.
Yeah. I mean, people always say, like, people like us who grew up with family in real estate, we have it easier. They don't know that we only were allowed to do that. Like that was our fun time, like you said. But
Yeah.
how do you think new people can figure out, how to get ready, like how to get the confidence, especially when it comes to development or even getting off the ground to take that first
Yeah.
step? Because I think that's where a lot of people claim they're stuck. I think it's more of a procrastination and fear. But what do you think?
I agree with you. I think it's a lot of that paralysis by analysis. We always make things overcomplicated. I think the easiest way to get started is to team up with somebody who's been there, done that, and has
Yeah.
different scars than you. I'm big on different scars. I like to
Yeah.
partner with people that bring a different perspective, because while we grew up in it, a lot of times I joke that my dad didn't let me use certain tools because he wanted to use it and I was the gopher, right? So it's kind of that same thing. Is when you're in it, you learn a certain aspect of it, and then you start to grow into the opportunity and you learn different skills. But really teaming with somebody is, I think, the best way to do it, because they're going to guide you, they're going to mentor, they're going to think differently, especially when you need to pivot. Because a lot of times in real estate deals, whether it's just an investment deal or development, you got to pivot at
Oh,
some
yeah.
point in the process. And if you don't have somebody that's collaborating with you and bringing ideas, then you're having somebody that's weighing you down and you're having to carry that whole load. So I think partnership is great, and getting in those rooms with people that have been there, done that, and not listening to the people in the room that have not.
I wanted to swing all the way back though. What was the first project that you did as an investor yourself? Did you start investing or did you go right into development because you were primed to be a 14-year-old developer?
So my first investment was when I was 16 years old. And it was a real estate play for my mom. So she assumed we took over, and then we split out. My sister and I
Yeah.
split out the property to three different buyers. And so it was a very strategic tax play,
Yeah.
but that was really my first investment deal. And I remember, asking my mom, like, okay, so this is my cut. And she looked at me and like, this is my cut. Right. And
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
and so yes, it was. But then after that, my next deal that was just by myself was my first condo in Chicago when I moved there
Yeah.
out of college. And then I just kept buying one a year, like one a year, one a year, one a year. Cause I was a big budget person. Like I
Yeah.
probably, my dad always would say I have like the first dollar I ever made because I would just save and save. And then
Yeah.
I'd be like, hey, I need money to go out, Dad. And he's like, well, you worked all week. I'm like, yeah, that's savings. Like
Yeah.
that's savings.
Right. Right.
But
That's for me. Yeah.
that's for me. That's right. But so, having that is like when you graduate college, a lot of parents will say, like, invest in the 401k and get the match and all that. But we don't talk about investing for, that quote diversity, right? Investing
Yeah.
for putting away for real estate and get your minor points of your budget and then look at those major milestones you want to hit and start saving up towards them. And that's exactly what I did. I just put the money I didn't need out of it into another bank account to start looking at it. And then, it was pretty much every year it'd come up and be like, okay, let's look for deals.
Yeah.
And I say that with the caveat that I was always looking, but
Yeah.
now it's like now I can act because you can't. I firmly believe you can't time the market. You have to be in it to know where are my KPIs, where are my triggers to be able to then say, okay, it's engagement time.
How did you figure out how to get the capital in when it's not your own? I think that's, it's not really for brand new people to worry about. They shouldn't start trying to take other people's money. But once you get going and you want to do something bigger, where should people look to get that capital that they need and figure out what's a better partnership money wise to bring to the table to make something happen?
That's a great question. I love capital stacks. A little bit of a nerd with the numbers there.
Yeah.
But, you know, I think everybody starts with friends and family at the first, so you get going. Again, I have that nerd brain. I became a student of the game. So I went to a lot of syndication workshops. I hired mentors that were doing just syndication
Yeah.
and looking at like, how do they put everything together? Like what's a reg 506C or 506D and what are like, again, the boundaries of what we can do to raise and then looking at what can the project take and what does the project need
Yeah.
and a lot of times there's a lot of money that's left on the table that the project itself creates. And that's where I think economic incentives are really beneficial to projects that a lot of people either don't think about, they don't understand, so they don't engage in them.
Yeah.
And they can be leaving a substantial amount of money on the table. For example, with the bakery project, it was a $5.5 million deal. We had 1.6 million in government money that came to us that added no more debt onto the project.
Yeah.
So it's those types of stacks that you can put together, and the other part when you're putting together a stack, are you going for that hard money lending and what's the cost of it, right?
Yeah.
Are you going for more of the financial and what's the cost of it? Are you bringing developers into the deal at say a lower interest rate, but maybe you're giving them double the depreciation allocation. So now they're getting more of a write-off, which is great. They're still
Yeah.
getting money, but they're not getting much cash. So the stack itself is good, but it's also looking at that cash flow because I think especially I think it happens more on development than investment performance is
Yeah.
you look so much at like, how do I get the project built?
Right.
And
Right.
then you don't look at cash flow. You don't look at reserve. You don't look at a risk mitigation. And that cost of capital can take you under, it can tackle you.
Yeah.
And we talk about even partnerships, how you structure partnerships is huge in that too, to set those expectations to say, hey, we're going to have this reserve over here. So we're going to, put 50,000 in the reserve before we pay you out one penny. I love a good urban infill project. Like I
Yeah.
love it. But I can do that. I can walk into the building and see, like I always love to show the before and after pictures of the bakery because you walk in and my husband who was the construction manager on that
Yeah.
project goes, okay, so when we tear this building down, do you want us to face it this way or this way? I'm like, what do you mean? This is beautiful. And he's like, honey, you're smoking crack. Like this
Yeah.
building needs to be torn down. And so now he makes me say potentially beautiful, but
Yeah.
he now sees it. And he goes, I don't know how you can see going into a space. And I think it's like what you said, you've grown up with the reps of seeing it, right? Of going in and being like, here, here, here. And now, and I had to I wanted to too, but I had to take a drafting class in high school so I can do my mom's blueprints.
Yeah.
And so I can know now, like if I look at a floor plan and be like, that's not gonna cash flow, or that is gonna cash flow
Yeah.
and how to figure it. And then you see it and it's all that, and it's the reps, right? It's going in and it's years of those
Yeah.
experiences that bring it. It's not like you can just teach that and know and be an expert, but it is, yeah. I mean, I've poured so much concrete, like, and with different ways and like, where you need to like beefing it up and like in front of the dumpster, people always cheap there, don't cheap there.
Yeah.
But like, like different ways, it's the reps. And that's where if you're a new person, teaming up with somebody who's a mentor is great. And like you said, you're constantly looking at things differently. You could look at the same deal, a couple things tweak, and now you're evaluating it in a whole different light
Yeah.
because you have different factors into it.